is difficult to be the last one to present, but I think that after the previous talks, you are still energized before lunch. So I am Chiara, he's Davide, and together we work at CatchSolve. That is a startup here at Neutech Park that is focused on software and data quality testing. One thing that Davide and I have in common is that we love data. But there is something that we love even more. We love high-quality data. And that was the reason why last year we were on this exact stage to present a concept of automated data quality testing. During that presentation, we have explained the 6 data quality rules. That is an established framework that says that data has to be complete, valid, accurate, available when needed, integer, and consistent. After that day, we have started the development of the proposed concept, together in collaboration with also Open Data Hub. And today is the big day. In fact, today we will present to you what we have done so far. But what is important to think about is that having a tool is not enough to have high data quality. In fact, data quality testing is a journey made of analysis, exploration, and goal setting. For this reason, in today's presentation, we will explain what a company should do in order to implement data quality testing. And after that, we will give you a concrete example of what we have done and how we have applied this process in the Open Data Hub case. So let's start. So as I said earlier, there are these 3 stages. The first one, most important, is the analysis one. During this stage, we define what are the data sets and the domains that we want to analyze. After that, we also define what are the requirements and the constraints related to organizational and resources aspects. And after that, we also do a basic risk assessment related to possible data quality issues. Basically, what we do is to estimate the possible likelihood and severity of data quality errors so that we can have an outline of what we should keep an eye on. This initial stage allows us to obtain the information about what to test, why we test it, and the key requirements for choosing how to test it. After that, we arrive at the exploration stage. In this stage, we define what are the tools and the processes related to data quality testing based on the constraints and the aspects that we have analyzed earlier. And after that, it is important to set some goals. And the goals are related to both KPIs inherent to the data quality, but also KPIs related to the data testing process in order to estimate the compliance of the data quality testing processes. Obviously, this is an iterative process. In fact, we all know that improvements requires continuous work. Now I leave the word to Davide, who will explain how we have applied this process to Open Data Hub.
Hi, welcome from my side. Now I will show you concrete what we have done in these months. All it started last year, as I said before. We was on the way to introduce in your startup even data quality testing. We already is some years that we do web apps, application, e-commerce, data testing, and so we like to introduce this new check because we have seen that there is a market needs about it, and at the same time we have understand that even for Open Data Hub can be good, and so we start this collaboration with the Open Data Hub group, and we have many meetings and discussion. Was not an easy journey because we have many goals. One of these was simplicity, so not to start with too much complexity. I said before, Chiara, this should be a journey, so it should be easy as much as possible to start. And so bringing together what we have do about data quality and Open Data Hub we have think the best way to start is to have zero configuration. So simply you put your URL of the data set in the tool, you got the result. This can be the first step. For sure, there is possibility to make further configuration, but the first thing is to start easy. To make this step easier, we have split the data in Open Data Hub in two classes, two groups. We have data that is with tourism, for example, so simple data set, and data that has time series, so data that is that show how, for example, sensor, the data of the sensor in the time. Because we have thinking to make two different KPIs for these two groups, to be more specific. So starting from the data set group, we have discussed how many KPI to find. At the end, we, from all the groups as shown Chiara before, to start, we have choose to use 3. These 3 are about field completeness. It means, okay. It means the structure of the data we got contains all the attributes that are, for example, defined in Swagger OpenAPI standard. So there is the name, there is the ID, and so on. So first, the first validation is simply does match the standard. And as you see here, you got immediately a KPI, the number of records that fail, and the total number. You can then go more in details. First, I will explain this level, and in the next slides, we see what you can see more in detail. The second one is value completeness. So, okay, now the structure of the data set is complete, but now check the values. So the values, for example, all required values are here or are, for example, missing or with null value. Okay, we will report this. In this case, this is test data, so please not check this as real data. In this case was, for example, all okay. The last one is range check. So, okay, the structure is okay, value or required value are there. Now check if the range are valid. For example, GPS locations, or as we see last year, the altitude of hotels, events, and so on. So for the data set, these are the 3 KPI we have defined as the most important to start. From data series, we have changed a little because the most value is in data during the time. And so we start with accuracy and out of range. For example, a temperature sensor has values between a realistic range or is outside, for example, the range. This should be important because before you process data, it's important to understand if this data is clear or not. The second one is what's happened to data in the time, and we have applied now at the first time a very simple check. Is data changing in the time or is always the same value? Because it's always the same value in the last 3 days, excuse me, is not maybe the sensor maybe has some problem because it's not more good value, a constant value. And the last one is data freshness. So how much time is the data old, taking from us reference now? So is there is data in the last 3 hours, in the last day, or the data is more than 3 years old? In this case, it's even suspicious because you can maybe think that the communication with the sensor is blocked and is not more data is coming. So when then you go more in detail, you choose a KPI, then you can go more in detail and have even more information. So which data has problem? In case, for example, for mobility, you get the list of stations with problems and how many issues they have. So how many data has issue. And then this helps to point you exactly on the data with problem to check what is happening. And you should not search all the data to search where the problems are. And you can go more forward in detail because you can even see the value that are wrong and the timestamp in case of mobility. In case of tourism, you can get the attribute that has wrong ranges. Okay, this was the tool. It was also, at the moment, keep very simple. The idea is to make each data provider that can use this to help to check in the data and improve the data. And as said by Chiara before, this is a process. What we had do, I can resume. Also, we have first, during the analysis, split between mobility and tourism because they have some specific behavior. Then we have decided to start with a low number of KPI, to start without configuration, so simply put URL. Even when for new data set, there is no need at the moment to make new configuration. And maybe to integrate this with the Open Data Hub. The risk that we want to reduce is a problem with, for example, in mobility, that data is old, data is not working, or missing information in tourism data set. What's the tool we have used? Also, we have created this tool. This tool is open source, so it can be even integrate with other system. It's use the OpenAPI information to make more check without configuration. And yes, and what's the process should be step by step to increase the quality. Okay, this is a schema that summarizes how we have split the KPI. So starting from the idea of having KPI, we have first take 2 groups, and then between these 2 groups, other subgroups, and at the end, we have seen how KPI on groups are mapped to UI interfaces. So back the word to Chiara.
So what is important to understand is that we don't have to fear seeing errors, because what is really the problem is that in the situation if we don't know them, actually. Because only if we know what are the data quality errors, we can improve it. So this is a brief conclusion, and I thank you for your attention.